The Pit Press Podcast.
Reinholz launches from downtown. No. Van Horn, no. And that's it. New Mexico wins it.
Kenny Thomas blocks. Gibson hustling down. He has some room. And he gets it. Oh, long three. He got it.
Oh, my goodness. Kendall Williams from 35 feet. For the win. Snell. Got it. He got it. Wow. With 1.8 seconds remaining.
And New Mexico's going to dribble out the clock. The Lobos three-peat as conference tournament champions. Kendall Williams fires the ball into the air, but New Mexico wins it this afternoon 64-58 over San Diego State, and the Lobos claim the Mountain West Conference's automatic bid into the NCAA tournament.
Welcome to another episode of the Pit Press Podcast. My name is Ryan Tamori. We're going to break down the ranked top 25 team in the country. Again, can't talk. The 25 Lobos beat San Jose State on the road 95-75 very convincingly. We'll get into that in a moment, and I'll introduce the usual suspects. Before I move any further, just want to thank some additional sponsors. Hey, if you're looking for a place to watch the Lobos when they are on the road, head over to Turquoise Desert Tap Room. Only a few minutes away from the Santa Ana Star Casino. Catch the Lobos, other college football games, and all the NFL action. Stop by for food, drinks, and football. NFC, AFC title game this Sunday. Turquoise Desert Tap Room also serves local brews on tap, and the Lobo game is on 8 o'clock. If you can't get there, find them on Facebook. Find them on Instagram at Turquoise Desert Tap Room. Brazo Homes is Lobo owned and Lobo operated, and a proud supporter of the University of New Mexico Athletic Department and its student athletes. Join the movement and help Brazo Homes build momentum by contributing to the 505 Sports Venture Foundation with our friends Drew Herrig and Kurt Roth over there, or the UNM Lobo Club. When you buy an Abrazo home, you become a part of the Abrazo Familia. Looking to build the perfect home in New Mexico? Find them at abrazohomes.com. Usually there's 5 of us, not tonight. Little Eric went crazy, so my business partner, Eric Moulton, and Lobo fan could not join us, so it is 4 of us. I will start with Jacob Neff. You can follow him at NM Sports Capper on Twitter. Jacob, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Ryan. How are you?
I'm loving tonight, and you know why. Fantastic night of college basketball and hockey. 3 + 3 = 7. Appreciate you joining us. And as always, the voice of the Western New Mexico Mustangs and a Lobo fan since 1970, Mr. Ed Nunez. Senor, how are you?
Doing great, Ryan.
And all the way from the Bay, because it don't play, Mr. Richard Thompson. Hey, man, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, sir. How are you guys doing?
So I want to start very quickly before we go any further, and I'll just touch on it. Congratulations to the UNM women's basketball team. Another big win as they defeat Fresno State. Game was last night, Wednesday night in the Pit. They were down. They rallied. They won 84-77. They had 4 players in double figures. Nia Wilson scored a career-high 24 points behind a career-high 10 free throws. Paula Reyes recorded her second 20-plus point outing of the season. I'm just reading this off GoLobos.com. Vinay Cumber added 16 points. That's pretty impressive. A lot of good quality basketball going on in the land of enchantment and the Duke City. So Lobo fan must be happy. We are going to start with what happened last night in San Jose State. UNM 4 straight by double digits. 2 of those against top 20 teams, 2 of those on the road against the bottom feeder. I'm just going to start very quickly before I do the rapid fire and run around here and your guys' opinions and various topics we're going to hit on. I just wanted to give my thoughts. I don't have really anything negative to say about this team. other than I am not the only one who saw it on Twitter, I don't think they have a quality road win. But damn, are they fun to watch. They played a complete game. I think they've played other than maybe the first 10 minutes against San Jose State, the first 15 minutes, San Diego State at home. They really, you might argue they haven't played a complete game. I think that they have played 3 straight complete games. But San Jose State out of the body of work might be very impressive. You might have one of the best freshmen in the country. I'm trying to think off the top of my head in JT Toppin. I don't really maybe think there's even a comparison. They're fun to watch. Donovan Depp played well. I felt maybe Mashburn played a little bit, as we always make this comparison, the Golden State Warriors, the strength in numbers. I don't know, man. They look good, and all 5 starters scored in double digits. And I thought that was impressive. Wanted to see that. Yeah, 14, 10, 17, 17, and 18. I was looking at the second half stats there, just the second half. That's my bad. And again, I've been very critical on this podcast. So I've got to resort to my my one curse word on this show from one of my favorite movies that I loved as a kid and then didn't realize all the jokes until I got older. I will say this to those that listen and to those on the on the basketball team.
These guys ain't so fucking bad.
They ain't so bad. I think they're pretty good. Ed, I'm going to start with you. And I would think the big story of this game is the phenomenal play of JT Toppin, 7th double-double that ties Kenny Thomas, who we just ironically, if there's such a thing, Alanis Morissette, just had him on our show. Just your thoughts on how this young man is playing.
Well, he tied Kenny Thomas for the 7th double-double as a freshman, 14 and 10. And I thought it was a slow start. There's a couple of post-entry passes. I didn't think they executed very well. But as usual, one time my son mentioned this on our group text last night. He and Nelly had a 2-on-1. Nelly passed to him and he scored. You don't see 2 big men usually leading the break, but 11 steals turned into easy transition points. The guy you mentioned 14 to 10, I think 4 blocks and how many steals? I think so. He's filling up the stat sheet as he always does. He's only getting better each game, and I think it's the athleticism and the rim protection. Sometimes those blocks come out of nowhere. I'm thinking this guy has an easy layup, and he'll come and block it without fouling, and I think that's really important. He hasn't gotten in foul trouble the last couple of games. And you mentioned, Ryan, 3 straight big wins, and he's a big part of all 3 of them. So I think, we say as House goes, the Lobos go, I think inside as he plays, that's how New Mexico rolls too. Nelly, I looked at the stats. I was kind of surprised to see him have 10, but he still had a solid game too, 10 and 7. So inside between the both of them, we had talked about this about a month ago. They weren't getting much from the post. And Coach Pitino had said, throw it in there, slow the game down, and see if a post, can get a basket. Nelly with a big game, 26 points. JT Toppin's been consistent all season long, 7 double-doubles. So impressive. I remember what Pete Gillen said. He's one of the best freshmen in the country. And sometimes I wonder if we remember that. I mean, he's playing here. He's not playing at Syracuse or UConn or Houston or Kansas. He's playing right here and is absolutely one of the best freshmen in the country, no doubt.
I think it's interesting the way he goes up, and I can't remember the last time I saw a Lobo rebound the basketball like him. I think that was the top story. So I would like all of your guys' thoughts. Rick, I'll throw it to you. Just your thoughts on JT Toppin and his performance.
Yeah, I think Ed's hitting on the historical points with, the statistical comparisons against Kenny Thomas. That's just crazy to think about. I never thought he would reach those levels, at the beginning of the year. And I would just like Ed's saying, to get him involved more. I think what kind of limited that was the zone defense that they were throwing at us. They were swarming him down low, it looked like. But you can't say enough about his just overall effort this season. And stealing a line from Coach Moser on the Top of the Mountain podcast, he said JT just vacuums up rebounds. And what he means by that is when the ball's coming off the rim, he's sucking it up off the rim. He's not waiting for it to come to him. He's going after it and grabbing him. And if you watch him play, everything is aggressive. in nature. And when I watched him play in person out here in St. Mary's, one of those first few games of the year, you could tell he was still finding his footing. And when he caught it at the top of the key, he wasn't thinking about his own shot yet. He was just running the offense and looking for the next pass. But when you watch him now, everything comes with intention. And, you can't ever question his effort. And last night, he even knocked down 4 of 5, at the free throw line. So plus 30 on the night, just crazy statistics, when you're looking at what he's doing this season. And when he get those slams or those pin blocks, that just energizes the whole team. So it's just going to be exciting to see what he does down the home stretch here and for the rest of conference play, because, he's going to get freshman of the week again. And I'm not sure if they're doing conference player of the week, but he should probably be considered for that as well.
He's already won that like 6 times already, if not 7. I'm trying to think of what that is. Yeah, I'm glad you hit on it, Rick, because I was going to mention, hey, he was 4 of, regardless, he was 4 of 5 from the free throw line last night. So I thought that was good. Jacob, I'm going to go to you and your thoughts on JT Toppin's performance last night.
I mean, he's just amazing. He's molded into this team and found his way to, how he can contribute. He's given them a reliable person to throw the ball to down inside, so that when it is struggling from the guard's perspective, we have that option to go there. And his shooting percentage is he was 5 of 11 last night, but usually this guy is efficient, in the 70%, because he's getting either putbacks or he's getting so deep into the lane or in the paint, that he's, he just has to do a little turnaround jumper or a little baby hook. And that's kind of what I've noticed about him, is he has that little baby hook touch, left or right-handed. But when it comes off the left, it looks even better to me. And with him, I kind of said this in our text message today. You look at him and he looks like somebody that would play for like a Kentucky, right? He's athletic. He runs up and down the court. He's last night we had 5 blocks. He was all of them. And nobody else on the team had a block. He had all of them. And he's just so effective at defense now. It's insane. He's not getting in foul trouble, and he's blocking 5 shots. Sometimes I think he's even had up to 6 or 7 this year. I mean, you just don't do that consistently without getting in foul trouble. That means you're playing aggressive defense, and most of the time you're going to get, you're going to hit the arm every once in a while or whatever. He's not doing that. And that's just got to be beaming his confidence right now, right? And it has to be manipulating people when they go to the rim, knowing, I mean, this guy's got the attention of the conference now, right? So when you go to the basket, you better know that you're going up strong, or it's probably getting sent back out. So unbelievable performance from him. I can't be more impressed with him. And quite frankly, I'm really glad that we got him. I think that he's going to be a huge piece to build off in the future.
Jacob, I'm going to stick with you. I had already mentioned, and I think maybe Ed had done that there, but it was a great overall team. Great overall team effort yesterday. I had mentioned all the starters were in double figures, but 19 bench points. How important were those bench points to you?
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be important every night. You know what the guys average and what to expect of them. And for years now, and what's been the problem, probably why the Lobos haven't been to the tournament for so long, is they've always had decent starting lineups, but the bench and the depth has lacked. This year, it's a different story. I mean, Amzil started the year in the starting lineup. Now he's transitioned to that coming off the bench role. It's been great for him. He still looks good. He looks confident. Yesterday, made a 3, even posted up some guy with a nice little, move down low and laid it in. So he's gaining a little bit of confidence down there too. Went to the free throw line, hit both his free throws. Forsling played 2 minutes, but he still scored. Got a dunk at the basket. And the 4 guys that played off the bench scored points. And that's all you can ask for. I did think, You know, it was nice to see Baker even just get 5 last night. We had talked about it before the game. You know, he's just been kind of non-existent. He actually looked like he was into it yesterday, and that he was fighting for some balls. And then Washington even put up 5 points. I didn't think he had his greatest game. I think his jumper looked off. I think sometimes it looked like he was forcing it a little bit. But that's going to be growing pains with a freshman. You just have to let him play through it. And, you know, I think Patino put him in at good times. We had comfortable leads, you know, let him get a couple shots in, get his confidence up, keep him in the rotation, keep him positive. And I think that's what he did. So overall, it was a great team effort, and it didn't just leak over on the offensive side of the ball. I really felt like everybody played well on the defensive side of the ball, which ran them out into transition. And when you have the whole team buying into defense like that, that's when the Lobos are a well-oiled machine. They're running up and down the court, and they're playing as a unit. So I was really encouraged last night by the way they played.
Rick, I'm going to you on this topic because you had mentioned it, but just your thoughts on getting 19 off the bench and playing like that, strength in numbers, playing cohesive, playing team ball. I mean, everybody seemed involved. I really don't care the competition. By the way, that was San Jose State's first double-digit loss in conference play.
Yeah, and I think just hitting on San Jose State really quick, you got to tip their hats off to them. They, in my eyes, they played hard the whole game and they kept it coming. I mean, Myron Amey Jr., he really had a nice game, 4 of 9 for 3, 9 rebounds for a guard. I mean, that guy was leaving it all out there, and he was fun to watch. You know, Cardenas, their point guard, I think he had 10 assists. So, you know, it's fun to watch them play, and you got to give it to San Jose State, that big man too, Diangu. He really challenged a lot of shots at the rim for San Jose State, 3 blocks for him, 9 points. It's kind of confusing to me why San Jose State didn't continue to try to go down low in the first 5 to 10 minutes when they were keeping pace with us. It seemed like that's what was working for them. And then once the lead kind of extended, you know, they resorted to a lot more threes. And I think that took them out of it. You know, and our bench players, when they came in, they were all effective. Amzil almost immediately stepped into that 3-point shot. A few minutes later, I think Baker stepped into that shot with confidence, both of them. And, you know, I think Washington is, you know, he always gives his full effort. He is, you know, always looking for his shot. So I don't think you want to tone down his aggressiveness. He had 1 steal out there, so he's always good on the defensive end as well. And I think when you combine those 3 guys off the bench who look like, to me, going to be the guys that are going to get the minutes the rest of conference play here with the starters, I think there's still we're still gelling all together because there's been a few injuries, and I still think there is a higher limit for this team because I think they are just really fitting into their roles right now, and we're seeing it, right? So I think there's still room for everyone to even grow more, but the bench was great last night.
Ed, you, Rick, and Jacob had mentioned this, I think, on the preview that we did yesterday, the live show, and that San Jose State was going to shoot a lot of threes, and they kind of jabbed back, but the Lobos made as many threes as San Jose State. They both made 10. If you had told me that before the game, and I'm stealing this from whoever wrote this, I think it was Jacob, I wouldn't have believed you. And it was 52% from the field. UNM was 10 of 19. Wow. 10 of 27 for San Jose State. But just your thoughts on the 3-point shooting from the Lobos. And we knew that San Jose State was a phenomenal 3-point shooting team, but they had essentially kind of punched back with the I hate using that analogy. I've used it a lot, but counter for counter, you know, checkmate with the threes.
Surprising. I don't, like you said, I looked at the stats, and House hit some and Mash hit some, and then Baker, we mentioned that. I thought Baker, he needs catch and shoot opportunities. He got a few. When he catches it right here, the problem earlier in the year, he'd hesitate, dribble. That opportunity was gone last night. Shot one with confidence. That's what they need to see from him. So I was a little surprised about that, but the ones that were made, Mash hit a deep one. And I think one of the things I saw with him, the quad was hurting earlier, and then the thumb wasn't right. And as a shooter, we all know Even something like that can mess up your whole mechanics. When he's up and down, he made a move last night, dribbled to the lane, got space up and down. That smashed his game. So I thought, when New Mexico's hitting threes, and you don't expect them because they don't hit a lot of threes, it makes it even that much better. 95 points last night, almost another almost 100-point game. They should have hit 100 against Utah State. Think about that. They should have had 100. They had 99 with 2 minutes left, and they should have hit 100. And they get fouled and made dumb plays. They should have had 100. And last night, 95. So when this team is rolling, Jacob, you made a really good point. When they're rolling like that, and remember, everybody gets hungry on the defensive end because you see 11 steals and you see you're scoring in transition. So everybody's buying in even more defensively because you've got guys playing the lanes, steal the ball, score. So everybody's buying in. So I think also on offense, the ball moving with energy, reversing. And you didn't see that, maybe about a month ago. So everything is clicking on all cylinders, Ryan, including, surprisingly, last night, their 3-point shooting. Hope that in the house, when he hit that barrage, 5-point barrage, that deep three, and the shot clock was winding down. It was coming down. He had to put it up. Once he hit that, see you later. I think a couple of guys said that was it. That was the ball game. So everything is clicking, again, even including their 3-point shooting, which they're not known for.
I'm sticking with you there. On the flip side, they only turned the ball over 6 times. I mean, how important is that in the grand? I mean, I feel like basketball is a game of just limiting your opponent to what they can do. I feel like you can get completely shut down in baseball. You can get completely shut down in football. You guys can tell me I'm wrong. Otherwise, I just feel like basketball, you can limit your opponent to a certain amount. But I don't know what I'm trying to say there. But they only had 6 turnovers last night. That's incredibly impressive.
I think the other thing too is if I'm a coach, the way they're hedging out on MASH, they did this at Utah State. They're hedging hard, and they're on the pick and roll, they're hedging at him hard, thinking he's going to jack up a shot or make a bad read. In the last couple of games in the first half, he's made some good reads. So they had to, he's known more as a shooter, and he's going to jack his shots. But the last couple of games, he's made some good reads and made good passes. When he's doing that, if you think about it, if I'm coaching against that team, I'm thinking we got to limit the guard attack they have and the creators they have with House, Dent, Mash to a lesser extent as a creator, but he's been pretty good lately too. And then you mentioned Rick, you mentioned True off the bench. Don't limit that aggressiveness. Don't limit that. So when you have that and it's working the way it is and they're sharing the ball and everybody's buying into it, as a coach, it's tough to defend. It's tough to defend that you got Toppin underneath, and that guy's a rim wrecker. If he gets a couple of dunks like that, then everybody starts playing downhill. Right now, the way they're playing, they're very hard to defend right now. So, that's my thought on that, Ryan, with the 11 steals and only 6 turnovers, and you're turning some of those steals, a lot of them into points, and you're starting to play downhill, and the confidence level rises with every possession, with every game.
I didn't realize this. I guess it doesn't really matter in the context of the game, but down the stretch, free throws, 17 of 26. San Jose State shot 5 free throws and made all 5 of them. Rick, it seems maybe the only negative from last night was the free throw shooting. Talk about that and still how they can improve it. JT Toppin was 4 or 5, and I think we already mentioned that.
Yeah, I think we just have to recognize they're probably going to be around 70% this year. I mean, the big guys shot better. At least Nelly was 6 for 10 from the line. I think that's probably around his season average, if I'm not mistaken. But, when you just look at the overall free throw numbers, that means that we're going to the hoop aggressively and they were not. And, when you play with a guy like Donovan Dent, that's going to the hoop at a different speed, you got to tip your hats off to Nelly and JT, because they've gotten a lot better over the course of the season of handling those passes from Dent. And let me tell you, as a big man rolling to the hole, when you're in a confined space with defenders coming around you and there's a guard dishing you one of these passes like Magic Johnson, it's not always the easiest thing to catch, especially when you're 6'8", 6'10". So, I think Nelly has got a lot better at handling those type of passes. And JT's always been pretty good at, that, and that limits the turnovers that Ed was talking about, because when you play with the type of speed, I think UNM is top 10 in terms of fastest teams in the country right now. These big men got to be ready for the ball at all times, and they're going to get to the line a lot. So they got to keep it around 70%. And, I think the big men did a decent job last night at the line. So I think that's just what it's going to be moving forward.
Adam, going back to you, and we've kind of touched on this, but 11 blocks, active defense once again. I think the most impressive thing is Nelly Jr. Joseph and his ability. He's had multiple games with multiple steals. I wouldn't expect it from him, and I didn't get to play any highlights. Here's Nelly. This was kind of weird. I felt like the ball was just handed to him, like he took it out of I'm thinking about Eddie George getting the ball stolen from Ray Lewis in the divisional round a million years ago. That's kind of what it looked like. This was towards the end of the game. This is CBS Sports Network.
Toppin 10 points, 8 rebounds in this game, 2 boards shy of another double-double. Came in with 6. Lobos get another steal. Joseph lays it off, and that is JT Toppin.
Ed, just your thoughts on the defensive effort there.
We talked about that. That was, I think, with the 2-on-1 break between post to post, and I think Rick, you made a great point about it. You played inside, man. I played inside a little bit and more in college when I played a lot of ball. I would have to guard 6'7", 6'8" guys, and it's not easy. You're right about that. And it's hard. You got to, and that's one thing about forcing. He can catch the ball. It's half the battle. He's got good hands. But I think the defensive effort. And you're right. I think that Jacob, you touched on this. People see him Toppin and Nelly blocking those shots. It gets in your mind because you're going up and you're kind of looking around like, where is he? Because that's how athletic Toppin is. And Nelly, we said about a month ago, where was he? He'd been playing good D on the pick and roll. We talked about that 26-point game. Ever since then, he's really the Iona. Nelly has shown up, and I think it took a little while. It took a little while to work chemistry in. Same thing with Amzil. Amzil did not look good at the beginning of the year. And his post defense has improved. Not a natural post defender.
He looks like a completely different. He looks like a completely different player.
Yes, and I mentioned this, and a couple of you guys agreed with that. Once he saw the ball go through the net and shot with confidence, squared up, release, motion, follow through, all that. He started. It was a different guy. And somebody you can rely on now. Now, when you see him come off the bench, you're like, hey, you know what you're going to get. You know you're going to get some contribution from him. But I think that defense, and I looked at Toppin last night. I was watching him at the free throw line. He's only a freshman, right? So the natural maturation, he's going to get stronger. He's already athletic. Once he develops a turn and face game, he gets the ball, catches and puts up a nice left-handed hook, a right-handed hook. Once he starts getting a turn and face, watch out. He's still got a lot of room to grow. And we're seeing a guy who, when we see the one lady called his dunk against Utah State life-changing. And man, that was a rim wrecker. It really was. So I think the defensive end, the defensive effort inside, we had mentioned that earlier about a month ago. It wasn't so good. Look where it is right now. It's definitely improved.
Here's the Amzil back on CBS Sports Network. Here's a play from Amzil.
Decided to throw reverse. Seal the post. Banks it in. I did it against the shot blocker.
I had clipped. I forgot what I had clipped there. Again, courtesy thanks to CBS Sports Network. Yeah, he's played very well, and I was way wrong about Jamal. A lot of things were wrong about Jamal Baker Jr., but Jacob, I kind of had the same subject here. They had 18 turnovers for San Jose State, but I just wanted your thoughts maybe on what UNM did defensively. I know Ed kind of touched on it there. And then just Amzil's play.
Well, they swarmed to the ball, right? And I think another thing is even when the posts had to come and help out on the guards, or somebody had to rotate to help out a player that maybe got picked down low or up top, the rotation was good. There was somebody there, and they were covering for each other on the back end. Most of the times in college basketball, what you see is people forget to communicate on the defensive end. And you just know that when you're playing man, that's your man. And then if somebody hops off your, their guy to go help him, you'll still see it in college basketball. It happens 24/7. That guy's natural instinct is still to go after his guy, and the other guy gets left wide open. And that's what, ends up to these wide open threes, or that's when the ball movement starts and the offense settles in. You find somebody open somewhere, and that's just part of the game. What I see with UNM is they're helping each other out. They're playing defense. It seems like people are hesitating to go into the paint. Their first look is not to go up and shoot it. It's to go under the basket a lot of the times and kick it back out for three. But we're staying on our guys pretty well. Like I was saying, from the perimeter. Another key thing that I was looking at last night when you were talking about turnovers, 18 turnovers for San Jose State, 6 for UNM, 25 points off of turnovers to San Jose State's 4. So that's a 21-point difference. You win by 20 points. You can see how turning somebody over and playing that kind of aggressive defense is helping them out, because another thing that UNM is doing really well is when you start a break, you could all, and everybody's scoring and it's leading to these opportunities. Everybody could collapse to the basket. But what UNM does when they go down the court is they know how to space it out. You don't have, everybody coming in and trying to get a layup. You'll see a guard, pin out there at the 3-point line. They let the big guys, trail and come into the paint. And then sometimes you get Dent that just drives it straight to the basket, or he drives it straight to the basket and the guy that's spaced out there for three is wide open, because they're spacing the court well too. So these opportunities on the defensive end are leading, a team that may not necessarily like to run and gun to make quick choices on the defensive end, in which most of the time they're not, because I think that was what was a big difference last night, is when they were on the attack from the offensive end, either off of a turnover, a bad shot, a block. They got the ball, and that it just seems like they know what they want to do now on the offensive end. People know where they need to be. And that's what's killing these teams, is they just don't have the communication to get on them. So I'm really impressed with the defense. That's what was missing last year. It was terrible. I mean, we were playing NBA style basketball in a college basketball environment. You can't do that. You can't run up and down the court and expect to outscore people every night. You have to play defense in college basketball because it's such a key portion of the game. And I'm really glad to see that with the same core that we brought back from last year, it's a total 180 in what they think on the defensive end. And they've gotten these younger guys and these transfers to buy in on the defensive end.
Go ahead.
I just want to say, I think that, starts and ends with House. And with his overall energy, I think it's contagious to the rest of the players. When you see someone playing that type of defense, these guys want to rise to the occasion. And with House, it's not only does he have great foot speed to stay in front of his man, but how many deflections do you see him get on the run out? Last night he had 2 steals. Donovan Den also had 3 steals. So these guards are a menace, and they're going to put pressure on whoever they face in the Mountain West. And when you get Nelly up there trapping on the pick and roll, he has the claw. And I don't know how many times he's gotten a steal or a deflection on the pick and roll this year, but it's just incredible, the defensive effort that these guys are putting out.
I think it's still great what Richard Pitino told the Almanac of the Field of 68, like Jeff Goodman and those guys. His quote, I've said it on this podcast, I think it's great. We don't need to be great, but we can't suck again defensively like we did last year. I think that's a great quote. Rick, back to you. Offensively, changing the guard here. Sorry about those defensive topics. I should have done a better job breaking them down. But they attacked the zone of San Jose State, took and made more threes. We've already touched on that. What did you see from that success last night?
Yeah, I think from what I saw, they might have started in a 1-3-1 and then changed into a 2-3 zone for San Jose State. And I think at first it took us a little while to figure out where we were going to work it. As you have 2 big men in the offense, where you're going to be able to score against a zone is usually the short corner, which is outside of the block. And what you saw a few times when Toppin or Nelly caught it early on the block is they got swarmed down low, but that opened up some other things. And usually when you play against a zone defense, you're going to be forced into a lot more outside shots, right? And lucky for us, we were hitting them last night. You know, Donovan Dent had 2 threes, you know, and Mash had 2 as well. And I think for Mash, that was probably his most efficient game so far, with 7 from 11 from the field and 2 assists as well. So I liked the way they attacked the zone, but you know, as we were just hitting on, their best offense is in the open court off of bad shots or off of turnovers. And you know what Jacob's talking about in terms of transition offense is not just that these guys know where to go. I can guarantee you that they are practicing transition offense almost as much as their regular offense for how much they are in transition. Pitino is telling these guys, you know, you go to the block, you go to the wing. They're practicing this constantly, and you're seeing it play out in the court. And when you have someone like Dent that can just explode in the open floor, it just, you know, creates so many opportunities for him and for these other guys. So, you know, I think against the zone, it took them a little while, but once you get out in transition, it kind of just threw them out of whack. And our offense was, you know, really balanced. I think if you look at it compared to last season, not only our starters, but like we hit on the bench. And that's what gives me hope moving forward that, you know, we're going to finish strong. The rest of conference play is just the balance on offense.
I think, again, I'm not the X's and O's guys when it comes to basketball, but it looked like they did, like San Jose State did play a 2-3 zone in the second half. That's what I remember of that. Ed, wire to wire lead throughout the game. UNM never trailed in this game, and it's the first time in a Mountain West game since February 5th of last year against Air Force. Your thoughts, just start to finish dominance?
You know what? I think we've all touched on it. It was impressive in a lot of different ways. But I think San Jose, you know what? And I want to say this, and I said this in you asked about the topics. Tim Miles is a good coach. He ran some good stuff.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he's a good coach. He runs good stuff. They've got good players. They've had some close losses. They're not a bad team. They're not, and he's a good coach. But I thought New Mexico answered any run that they had, and particularly House. You know, they're coming back. He hits a 3, and then near the end of the shot clock, he hit another one. And I'm telling you, that demoralizes the team because you play defense for 28 seconds, and then a guy hits a 3, and you're like, oh man, push you back down the hill. So I think you know, again, you mentioned, Ryan, 3 straight wins and a solid one. San Diego State, they played very well. Utah State played very well. San Jose State on the road, and they mentioned, my son mentioned this, it's a dead atmosphere. You got to get some, you know, excitement on your own. But I think, Jacob, you touched on this. When you're running with effectiveness, and you said it too, Rick, offensively, you're running the way they're running. It's a beautiful thing to watch, and it's demoralizing to another team when you lose the ball. They're going down, they're dunking on you, and the arena is excited about another team. You hear the oohs and the ahs, and it's not for your team. So I think San Jose State played hard. Tim Miles, we already know what a good coach he is, but I thought New Mexico answered every mini run they had. They got it to within 9, and then New Mexico had a play by House, Mash, somebody different made a play. You mentioned, I think, Rick, that Washington's jumper was off, and it was, but he banked one in. He banked the jumper in off the board, and you're like, if you're San Jose State, you're like, man, what do we need to do? So I think New Mexico is so efficient and almost scary efficient. If you're Steve Alford watching that, you have to, you know, he's a great coach. He's probably thinking, man, they're playing on all cylinders right now, and they did.
What did Tom Moser call it? I think he called it the Lobo Express last night. I liked his analogy. Man, that guy knows basketball inside and out. We need to have him back on. But I think he called it the Lobo Express, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Where'd it go? Choo-choo, the Lobo Express. Yeah, Lobo Express. By the way, Nevada beat Colorado State, number 24 Colorado State last night. Kind of took a control in the second. Kind of had control late in the first half. In the second half, they won 77-64. Jared Lucas played out of his mind. 28 points. He's led a team to an Elite Eight. That guy knows what he's doing. He's a veteran. He's a crafty veteran, and he's well coached. With Steve Alford, I know to as much of grin in the people that listen to this podcast. Donovan Dent last night, his line 7 of 14, 2 of 3 from 3-point field goal. Man, I think he's got such a pure shot. He looks good. 10 total points. 17 points. Man, 17 points, 3 steals, 6 assists. That's a pretty good stat line. Jacob, he was knocked in last night, navigating the offense and fitting in some passes that not many could make. He looks like white chocolate or Magic Johnson out there. He's phenomenal at passing, and he hit hit Toppin a couple times. He was awesome.
Yeah, there was a couple of those passes that, I mean, there was minimal margin on those, and they were just right where they needed to be. I joked last night. I sent out a tweet. I said, somebody's got to get all the dimes out of that guy's pocket because they're just falling all over the place on the court. I mean, it's insane. I mean, that guy has to have 6 eyes. I mean, he could see everything on the court, and it's no look passes. It's directly looking at them. How do you guard somebody that's so electric to the basket where if you don't step with him right off his initial drive to the basket, you're probably toast? He has such soft touch off the backboard on his layups. His passing is ridiculous. I mean, he's unbelievable. And he doesn't get as much. I mean, he's on a team with great players right now, right? And we're going to see the departure of House. We're going to see the departure of Mashburn. We're going to see the departure of Nelly, as these guys go out because they're seniors. And he's going to step into the spotlight, and it's going to be like, holy cow, he has even another gear that we might not have seen, right? 17 points last night, 3 steals, 6 assists, no turnovers. That's about as effective as you could be in a college basketball game, especially with all those guys on offense. He's distributing the ball to everybody. He's getting everybody involved, and that's the key. This team really needs the inside play from Toppin and Nelly. They just need it. You've got to keep the big guys involved, and he's often the guy that gets it done, right? You can see the confidence that Toppin and Nelly play with when he's getting them involved, and he deserves a lot of that credit because, he scores 17 points, but I always feel like he's looking to dish it before he's looking to score. There's not a lot of people in basketball that would rather take an assist than 2 points, and that's one of them. I'm floored by him. I think he's unbelievable. I think we've got potentially 2 NBA players in the wings waiting to be drafted as underclassmen as they mature and get older.
It's funny you mentioned like 6 eyes. Charles Smith back in the 90s, his nickname was the Spider. And he was phenomenal to watch, and he played with Kenny, and he went to the NBA. I think he played for the Heat. I don't know if you're going to if I'm going to coin, obviously I'm not going to coin that term, but he plays like a spider, and you've had a famous, one of the more prominent players in UNM basketball history, and Charles Smith with that nickname. That's really stupid. I would need to find out. I think Mashburn has a year left. Don't quote me on that. I need to ask around on that. I might ask Steve Kirkland, but I think he's got a year left.
That would be nice.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Because I know he's a senior. I just don't know what the classification is on that with transferring and COVID years. It's gotten so confusing what the rules are now that it's hard to tell what's the case.
That was a conversation I had with Drew Herrig of 505 Sports Network, 505 Sports Venture Foundation the other night watching the AFC divisional game. I just was talking to him briefly about that, and I'm dropping his name because that guy would know. And he was like, yeah, he's got another year of eligibility. You don't know if he would come back. He probably.
I don't know about that. Let's not sign off on that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, I'm just saying that's a conversation we had. But
I thought he was done, but
I thought he was done too, and that's why it was a shock to me. I'll have to ask Steve Kirkland, but that's what was told to me. Ed, defensively, UNM did get hit with some backdoor cuts, particularly from the elbow. Your thoughts on that, and how can they clean that up?
Well, you know what? I think part of that is Tim Miles is a darn good coach. That's part of it. Relationship to man and ball, shoot your guns, the whole kind of thing, defensive concepts that Rick knows what I'm talking about. Jacob, too. And I think they lost track of that. But again, give Miles and San Jose State. I said that they did get hit with those cuts. You just got to be aware of man and ball relationship as far as. But again, give Coach Miles credit in those half court sets. Quick hitters, quick cuts, backdoor cuts, layups. They had got hit with about 3 or 4, but I thought they did better in the second half on those. But again, I think that's more of a testament to Tim Miles and the stuff he runs in a half court set on their offense, and a couple of lapses defensively. And if we're going to nitpick, we'll say that. But other than that, that's a darn good performance by a Lobo team, I think.
And Ed, I'll keep it with you. I thought it was a really dominant performance. The Lobos won first time the Lobos have won back-to-back Mountain West road games for the first time since a 3-game winning streak at the end of 2018. And to start the 28. Oh, okay, whatever. Okay. That's I guess it's just showing how hard it is to win in this league. Switching gears, the Nevada Wolfpack roll into the pit Sunday night. Why they scheduled this game on going ahead against the NFL. I mean, I love college basketball. And I've mentioned it before. I've had my qualms with the NFL this year. But why they would schedule an 8:00 game on FS1 on a Sunday night during those 2 games. I mean, I really don't think you can go head to head with that. And you can't go head to head with the Super Bowl. Nobody else plays during the Super Bowl. I'm quite shocked by that. Nevada is 15-4 on the year, 3-3 in conference. And everybody knows who the head coach is there, and it's Steve Alford, and we have an interview locked down with him. That'll be out after this. Ed, I start with you because I know how you feel, but Alford's a darn good coach, and Richard Pitino's yet to beat him.
Yeah, he's undefeated here. And again, I want to tell you that I think he was a great coach, 30-5 here. I never said he wasn't. I just had a problem with some of the way he treated some people around here. I thought the guy was an arrogant dude. I did. But the interview that you did with him last year, a much more reserved, a much more gracious. I thought he was very, very good with you. I did. I listened to that interview. I thought you did a great job. And so maybe I think he regretted leaving here. But again, he left for UCLA. Who can blame him for that? He's always got, to me, Bob King, the architect of Lobo basketball, Steve Alford, Norm Ellenberger. I put the Lobo coaches in that order. And
where's Chief Bliss?
Yeah, yeah, man. I mean, well, we'll leave that conversation, for another time. Coach Bliss did have some success here. He did. It's just what happened afterward that put a taint on all that. But yeah, so it's exciting. But you want to beat them. And again, they come in here last year and beat UNM on a last second shot. The Lobos are playing well right now. That's a huge game. New Mexico definitely wants to win that. I want to see them beat Steve Alford. I don't probably have the same feelings as I did last year as far as that bitterness, and I think that some of that's gone after I heard him interview with you. I thought he was, like I said, a lot more gracious, but still, then you got Noodles coming down with them, and so yeah, they're the enemy, and it's a big test, another big test for New Mexico. They got, and as Brian Dutcher said, all New Mexico did was what they're supposed to do: protect home court, and they've got to protect it again on Sunday night.
Jacob, I'll go to you. What you know about Nevada, Jared Lucas, Keenan Blackshear, these guys are good. They run the point for Steve Alford, and they play very well. They won the Diamond Head Classic in Hawaii. They were 15-1 at one point. You get into conference play. Excuse me. Getting into conference play, and kind of had a rough time. I think they lost. I'm looking at their schedule here. Obviously, that's a big win against Colorado State, gets them back in the thick of things. They lost to Wyoming, lost to San Diego State, and they lost to Boise. But what do you're the guy. What do you know about them, and how can UNM finally get this vaunted win over them?
Yeah. So their guard, Blackshear, 6'6" point guard, real physical, likes to drive it into the lane, get fouled. Not the greatest foul shooter, but he can shoot a little bit. but his primary goal is to get to the basket, open things up. And Lucas is just, I mean, that team goes as he goes. When he's hitting threes and they're able to spread the ball out, he's unbelievable. I mean, his run with Oregon State was amazing. He's one of those guys that can create his own three. He can run off a screen and pop a three really quick. He's got a great shot. So you got to make sure you alter him. You're in his face 24/7. You can't lose him on the court. And then they got KJ Himes. He's a big 6'11" center. He'll be up with Nelly. That'll be the matchup, I assume. And then, where UNM is going to have to make a decision is they have Coleman, who is a 6'7" forward, and they have Davidson, who's a 6'9" forward. So this is going to now be one of the only times that the Lobos face a team that's going to have 3 forwards and 2 guards. So they're going to have to really decide early on in the game who's going to guard Coleman, who's 6'7". I'm assuming that's going to either be Mash, and he kind of likes to run off screens and hit threes and hang out outside the 3-point line, do a couple pump fakes, take it to the basket. So Mash is going to have to be super in tune on defense. And then Davidson is a guy that can get, the boards. He gets a lot of offensive boards. Not really a guy that's athletic, but he's just there, kind of think of him. He's not Tyler Hansbrough in all means, but somebody like that, has the athletic disadvantage, but he's there and he does what he needs to do. He gets his points and his rebounds, and that's his role on this team. Not a very deep team. They play 3 guys. And they don't get too much scoring from their bench normally. So this is going to be stopping just the starting lineup. They can't let Blackshear bully them. I don't know who. I'm assuming it's going to be House on him, or House might have to stick with Lucas because he's coming off those screens. But if not, it's going to be Dent guarding Blackshear at 6'6" and just making sure that we don't get in too much foul trouble from the guards' perspective.
He's lengthy.
By
the way, I texted Steve Kirkland of UNM. I didn't know this. When I was talking to Drew, I was kind of shocked. Jamal Mashburn does have another year of eligibility. He could use the COVID year. The only guys that do not have eligibility left after this year are Jaelen House, Jamal Baker Jr., and Isaac Mushila. I did not know that. So Amzil's got another year too. And Nelly Jr. Joseph. So that's pretty good. I wasn't sure that when I was talking. I was like,
that makes me happy. That makes me happy.
Yeah, it's Tim Robinson from I Think You Should Leave It, Tim Robinson. Are you sure? You sure about that? Dude, I didn't think that was correct either. So that's good news.
Well, one thing to mention is we do have 2 stud freshmen coming in next year with Dotson and Milicevic, who was actually part of our chat last night on the live stream, which was really cool. One of the Lobo recruits was listening in. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see who comes back. It might have a lot to do with who we have coming in looking forward. So that's exciting.
Waiting for I'd suggest probably some maybe NIL money as well will play a factor, I'm sure, in who decides to stay or go. I don't think that would be a factor too.
Well, we kind of saw it today, and I'm not trying to get off topic. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, the All-American, honorable mention All-American. He has entered his name into the transfer portal with Bronco Mendenhall and UNM football. So I think that was kind of a gut punch today. But probably much like the rest of Albuquerque and Lobo fans, I mean, I love college football. So I was like, damn, man. And he was fun to watch. So that was kind of a gut punch, but I don't think anybody really cares with what's going on with UNM basketball here. And oh man, I had another topic that I was going to drop with you guys and I forgot, but I'm going to go to Jacob because we were talking about, by the way, UNM is up to 24th in the Ken Palm. And by the way, I thought they were the Grand Canyon Antelopes. Apparently they're just the Grand Canyon Lopes now. So I'm learning tonight. I mean, Jacob, if you had to guess, what would the line be on Sunday night?
6.5.
UNM.
Yeah, UNM 6.5, obviously. I could see it potentially being a little more with how dominant that they're playing, but you just have to take into consideration that this is going to be a step up in competition from the last 2 games. They're coming off of a win against Colorado State. I would say it's going to be between 6 and 7, but that's where I would lay it.
Well, you said 8 and 8.5 for San Jose State, and I'll be damned. It was 8.5. Ed, just with Steve Alford coming back, a fond memory of any of the Alford years, and I lost my train of thought. I had something really good to ask you guys, and I forgot. But just anyway, a fond memory of the Alford years.
Probably the red blazer. Nobody sported that red blazer like he did. That was one of them. And the big conference wins, BYU here in 2012 when they beat BYU on CBS national TV. That's a huge memory. Jimmer Fredette, they did a pretty good job on him that afternoon. So there's a heck of a lot more. He had some good players in Drew Gordon and Greenwood and Kendall and Tony Snell. And I think overall the excitement of the pit at that time was really, Kenny Thomas said that on our program the other day. He wants to see it get back to when he played. And then when Steve Alford was here, the 30-5 seasons is back-to-back WAC Mountain West championships, taking over the Thomas and Mack Center, what they call it, Pit West over there. So a lot of great memories when he was here. Between him and Craig Neal, not a great head coach by himself, but the two of them together, even to this day, he'll let Coach Neal draw up the defense. They're a great team, a great tandem. Neal not so good without Alford, but together a great team. So those are just memories I have.
He also still showed his ball handling skills on the court the other night. Bryce tweeted that out. I thought it was pretty good. He caught a ball at the end of the game and was dribbling between his legs. I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know. I like Steve Alford, and I like Steve Alford because he's always been pleasant with me professionally and to that reporter primary source voice relationship, and he's been cool. So I've always appreciated him. Rick, is there a moment that stands out for you during the Alford era?
Unfortunately, it's him signing a 10-year contract with us and 5 days later leaving. But the thing I think about is that his son would have played at UNM rather than Cullen Neal. And no disrespect to the Neals, but I much would have rather had the Alfords been in town for that period of time and see what Bryce Alford would have added to the team. So for me, I was actually working for Lobos Sports Properties during the last few years of his term. So I got to watch every home game from up in the video engineers room with Gary Williams and seeing them cut the video. So I got to experience a lot of it hands-on and just a lot of good memories, a lot of good players. I think J.R. Giddens was one of, the initial ones that I can remember. I know there's a lot of others, of course, down the line, but just a lot of success during his time and really nothing bad to say about him other than his exit. But you can't hate on him for going to UCLA, and he had great success at UCLA, and I bet they're kicking themselves now for letting them go with the problem that they find themselves in.
Mick Cronin, right? Jacob was, I love him. And then whatever he told that reporter the other day, he was like, you have a problem with me? And he was like, somebody tweeted out, I was like, I don't think he knows him that well. That was great. I didn't delve into the context of it. It was probably just scrolling and I looked at it, but he looks like he's about to, I don't know how you describe it. He's about to have like a midlife crisis. He already is.
It's an aneurysm. He's going to have an aneurysm on the court for sure.
Your favorite moment, the Alford era?
It just has to be, that team with Tony Snell, Fenton, Kendall getting into the tournament. It was just, that was probably, besides, that was the time that I was in college. They were amazing. Going to the pit every game was, we looked forward to it every single week. Everybody was in line. It was a rush to get student tickets. It wasn't like today where you could drop by the bookstore every once in a while and there's still student tickets available. There was people camping out for them. There was people making sure that they were in line for it. So just that atmosphere, every game was electric. It seemed like once he had that core group together. And then just overall, I respect him as a coach. I hated his exit too. I think it might've been a little bit from just being upset that he was leaving, knowing that where we were at that point, to see if we could take that next step. And, I think he almost had us to kind of where San Diego State is right now, right? That's been like the incumbent of the Mountain West. And, like Rick said, you sign a 10-year contract, you leave 5 days later. It's kind of like a slap in the face, but how, like you guys have said, how can you blame him? You've got one of the best head coaching jobs available and you're offered it, you're going to do it. And then as Ed said, maybe that did humble him a little bit, getting fired from UCLA and having to restart at like a Nevada, and he seems to be old Steve Alford coaching the same way. I miss him. I'll be honest. I liked him. But that's a little bit of what I remember as far as with Steve Alford in his days at UNM.
And Tamari, correct me if I'm wrong, is Roman Martinez, former Lobo, now on the staff there also at Nevada?
He left.
Okay.
Yeah, he was there for like a year. He was a grad assistant and he left.
I didn't know if he was still there.
I mean, Alford also produced not just basketball players, but AFL players, You have to remember that too.
Yeah, Hugh Greenwood of
Greenwood, baby. Yep.
my North Melbourne. It's not
Kangaroos.
Melbourne Kangaroos, which I still need to buy. I don't know how the hell that's going to get shipped here, but I would love to buy that. I didn't know that. I knew he played, and I was like, I'm going to be a Kangaroos fan. And then I looked at the roster, and I'll be damned, Hugh Greenwood was on that team. I throw it out there. I love the history of stuff, as I always mention. And I don't think you can get it started with what Alford started there without 2009, 2010. And it's the block, man. It's the Darrington Hobson block. And I think Doris came on our show and said that he helped on that block. I forgot, Ed. I'll have to re-listen to that. But it's definitely the Darrington Hobson block at BYU, and for them to win the Mountain West Conference outright in 2009, 2010. I mean, that did it. That got them a 3 seed and got them a win in the tournament until they ran into Isaiah Thomas and Quincy Pondexter at Washington. I mean, holy hell. I thought that was a great moment. Very quickly, we still haven't defined it. I think that's on the key for the next episode, but you know what time it is.
And this is a snake of the week, bro.
My snake of the week. I'll let you guys go first, and Jacob, I'll start with you with it. But my snake of the week, I'm just, as I mentioned, I'm impressed with this team. Like I've said, I'm from the Show Me State, and earlier in July on this podcast, I had said that this is on paper. They need to be, or on paper, they look like a really damn good team. It was kind of iffy there, but now they look like a sawmill, and they've done that the last 4 games. Masters of the Air is coming out tomorrow or tonight, whenever this, whenever it comes out now, and that's been done by Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks, who made The Pacific and Band of Brothers. And the reason I'm mentioning that is in the trailer they cut to Elvis, aka Austin Butler. And he's like, we're going into the sawmill and cranking them out or something. Can't quote him specifically. That's just what they've done the last 4 days. It's been a sawmill for these Mountain West Conference teams, and I think they've played absolutely well. And, I think I realized I talk too much on a podcast. But Jacob, you're snake of the week.
I want to head over to Patino in the coaching aspect. I know it's easy to pick a player, but, the 4 games before this, we were questioning, does he have these guys ready? Does he have control of the team? I think that's been answered over the last 4 games. And it's very easy to not be clicking at all cylinders when you go on the road or having these guys not ready. They've been ready. They've been playing full games. This guy looks like what was advertised, right? We thought of him maybe as a really good recruiter and just, the coach that was in there for that. I've seen a totally different guy, totally different team that's bought into him. So I owe all due respects to him for getting this going and getting them on the right track and having them ready. So my snake of the week is Coach Patino.
Rick, to you, your snake of the week.
Definitely for me, it's Jaelen House, even though he was 6 of 15 from the field. He just impacted the game, obviously with those two big shots that sealed it, those two big threes. But he really controlled his emotions to me a little differently last night. We didn't see him get any altercations, and I think just his leadership has been huge. And what he does on defense can't be underrated. Probably one of the top defensive point guards in the country, and he's just moving up that list of all-time steals leaders at UNM. So hats off to him.
Ed, to you, your snake of the
And this
week.
is a snake of the week, bro.
There's a lot to choose from, and I'm gonna go with and you know what, Jacob, good job in giving Coach Pitino credit. He deserves it. He really does. He's much maligned sometimes, right? And people, people get mad at him, including me sometimes. He's doing a great job. He really is. I think I'm going to go with Donovan Dant. Donovan Dant, 17 points, 6 assists, no turnovers. And I think Jacob or Rick, you mentioned that's about as good a game from a point guard as you can have. And I think the other thing too is when he's making shots. My son had mentioned he's going to need to start hitting some threes. He did. And when the scouting report says, let that dude shoot, man. You want him to shoot, and then he hits a couple, and then he starts driving and carving you up that way. Not a whole lot you can do. So that's my snake of the week in Donovan Dant.
I'm shocked that nobody mentioned JT Toppin there because he's probably the snake of the year. Hey, visit our website. You can find our podcast there. It's on all podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeart. Check us out. We're on YouTube TV. If you're watching on YouTube TV, we're on YouTube. We're not on YouTube TV. We're on YouTube. If you're on YouTube, please click like or subscribe. Would appreciate that. Follow us on X, or the artist formerly known as Twitter, at the Pit Press NM. You can find us on Instagram at the Pit Press NM. And we're on Facebook, the Pit Press. On behalf of the four of us, Rick Thompson, Ed Nunez, Jacob Neff, my name's Ryan Tamori. Hey, I appreciate all you guys, the three of you joining me as always. We're going to have an interview with Steve Alford, and Ed and I are talking to former point guard Phil Smith. So we'll have that out. Given with what Sunday is with the conference championships, we might not go live, but I'm thinking we will definitely pump out a podcast prior to Nevada. But again, we appreciate everybody listening, all the positivity, all the negativity, and just a quick shout out on Twitter at Doug Stool, and then to at Does This Work? So appreciate you guys. But hey, thank you guys, Jacob, Rick, and Ed, and we will talk to you post Nevada. Everybody have a great weekend.